Hey Collective, it's Al and welcome back to Altruistic Channel. This video is going to be dedicated towards the power of premonition, or as you scientific minds might call it, the power of strategic analysis for future events. And essentially what I wanted to do was follow up on a message I had posted recently about a friend of mine who had taken and some of the complications that came with it, and then what I see unfolding for us as a collective in the near future as things pan out the way that they seem to be panning out. And essentially what it was that, as you guys recall, the person had gotten and since then had gone into the ICU. And so without getting into too many details, because it's, their personal story, I'm just going to say that they basically said exactly what I thought, which was it was unrelated and that it was mental. And so the next thing I know is that they were going to release the person, and then I got a call and I'm laughing only because I'm trying to be very diplomatic and very responsible about how I phrase this, but I got a phone call that said that they were then in the emergency room because they had a block in their artery that suddenly came about. And I went, oh really? So we went from mental to actual physical ramification. And so I'm going to channel the best as I can my heartthrob favorite person on the planet, Mr. Anderson Cooper, who has the integrity to be able to parlay information in a way that is non-emotional and that allows the audience or viewer to absorb the energy as they will, but does it in a way that's very informative over emotional. So I'm going to do my best here. Because let's just face it, once this all picks up and goes and everything that I want starts to happen, I'm just going to say that I'm probably going to need a legal team, because I get myself in a lot of trouble with what I say sometimes. I get into a lot of trouble with my mouth, and ironically it's also a selling point to Mr. Anderson Cooper about the mouth. Anyway, joking aside, so essentially what had happened was that now it's gotten into a situation where the person is doing what humans do, which is kind of not listening to medical advice and so forth. So I'm going to have to just stay out of it, but it makes me want to take my gloves off, and so I'm trying very hard not to exhibit prepubescent behavior. So what I see happening in terms of this is similar situations across the board where things start to medically happen where it's not being directly connected to this thing, because of course that would be negative PR. And so what it does, however, is it does present a situation for those of us who are spiritual leaders or leaders of any kind right now, who have to now look at the situation from a further back perspective and realize that in the end, no matter what happens, every human being is responsible for their own choices. And so though I can sit here and bitch and moan about the fact that he should stay there, he is fighting against the grain, and so I have to let this play out. But as far as the collective, what I wanted to warn everybody about is that this is what's going to happen in the near future. Essentially, this weekend in California is a super important weekend energetically. It's going to be one of those weekends where we really, really get to enjoy our life again. There are little festivals and events going on around the cities, and what they're basically doing is kind of reopening the economy, if you will. But here's where the catch-22 comes in. I'm going to say this very clearly. If you are in hospitality and have an opportunity to work this weekend, do it. Don't miss the opportunity because you want to be part of the festivities. You can be part of the festivities and make your money, because the flip side of this is they're about to pull the rug from everybody. So essentially what the plan is by these dingbats is that they're actually going to let it seem like we're reopening, and then suddenly there's going to be an onslaught of outbreaks, and there's going to be all these issues, and so they're going to shut it down, because remember, they're still trying to get used to spayed and neutered and tagged, wandering around like little puppy dogs with these little cards. Oh, I got this, I'm a doggy, that type of thing. Sorry, I don't mean to make light, but they don't have enough of those yet. There's only 40% of the population, they say that has, I only know 2 people in the entire world that has done this thing, but we don't judge. So essentially what they're going to do is they're going to allow the economy to open slowly, and then with the congregation of people, they're going to use death as a means to shut it back down again in about 2 weeks, and say that because of the outbreak and not enough people have gotten to the thing, and so because of that, they're going to shut it all back down. All hell's going to break loose, and like I had said earlier in a previous video, this is your spring break. Go out and fucking enjoy it, because it's not long lasting. It's going to, their intention is to ensure that most of the population is enslaved, and so they're going to make sure that we're all spayed, neutered, and tagged, and that we're all running around with these little cards, like the new dog tag for the Aquarian age. So as much as I'm making light of it, be prepared for the fact that that's going to happen, which is why I had stated if you work in hospitality, no matter where you are, especially in California, understand that this is your opportunity to make that extra money, because as long as we, the people, are stuck in a situation where we have to keep accepting government money, whether it's welfare or whether it's unemployment or whatever it is, you're still going to be controllable, and they can still do sneaky things like mandate people who are homeless to have to take this thing in order to have shelter, or they're still going to be able to make moms, test on their children so that they can get their WIC card. Whatever it is that they're going to be doing, just be advised that there is an underhandedness to this, but the silver lining to this is that the divine still has not shown its hand, and everything is kind of riding on what happens in the next 2 weeks. So just know as a collective that we can see exactly what they're doing and what the plan is. So just know that the push is then going to be to take the 40% of people who have been bitching and moaning about how they already did this and it's our fault, the others that don't want to do it, that it's our fault for the things that are happening, and they're going to turn you against each other. So be advised that all hell is about to break loose. So for the next weekend, at least this weekend in particular, go out, do your thing. If you can make money, make your bones. If you are going to go out and enjoy the festivities, go out, don't drive, take Ubers and shit like that, because at the end of the day, this is not going to last very long. Their intention is to shut it back down and make us re-afraid so that they can make us stuck in a state where we have to depend on them financially so that we are more manageable. So just be advised that the divine universe is very aware of what they're doing, and they're not even smart about it. And the most interesting part about this is, as of now, remember, collective, that this is all voluntary. They cannot make you do anything. And the only way that could happen is if the majority of the population begins to vote in that favor, and then the betrayal of each other happens, and then Carmageddon really kicks off and all hell breaks loose, and then really negative things start happening to everybody. So here's what I'm going to say about this type of game that they're playing. Essentially what it is that they're basically betting on you, the viewer, or you, the person, the layman, not being aware enough of the situation and not stopping to ask yourself the deep questions. Why are they incentivizing something that should be healthy? Well, because it's a trial. What does that mean? You sign away your rights when you get it, and so you can't actually come back at them later when, of course, something happens to part of the population. So as you guys do that, remember that also right now, one of the biggest triggers that's about to make all hell break loose as well, where the divine does show its hand, is the fact that we are allowing them to test on children. Now, I've said this before, this is where I get pissed off. Children are not old enough to have this type of toxin put into their body yet that's not tested, because they haven't gone through puberty, which means if you haven't had your period and your balls haven't dropped, then you're not in a position developmentally to be able to handle something toxic into your fucking body. So be advised that the moment that continues on and they shut everything back down in a fear tactic to make you believe that there was an outbreak when there wasn't, because if there is, it comes from the people who got this thing, because the rest of us already had a year and a half of getting used to this V word spinning around. So we've all had it. The difference is not everybody was activated to it. And this is one of the things that reminds me of a celebrity who recently was stupid enough to get online or say something, I think it was on the show, where they were like, yeah, I already had it, but I'm getting it again. I'm getting my first shot. And if you already naturally had this, why would you double down on it and get another dose of it? You think that that's smart? You really think that you're that prestigious? Man, karma's going to be a bitch. So what I want to just say to everybody is, when you have the power of premonition, understand that people always gloat about how psychicism and all that stuff is so badass, but very few people want to deal with the strategy aspect of it, which is the responsibility to know what's going to happen and to see it, speak to it, and then let the cards fall where they may. It takes a lot of bravery sometimes to speak the truth, and the truth is this: they're not going to allow the economy to open. They're going to allow it to slowly open just enough so that they can shut it back down to make you more dependent on them financially, and also make you more angry at each other so that you turn, so that a fellow man becomes even more divided. Remember, a divided house shall fall, a united house shall stand. And so understand that if you have the opportunity this weekend, go out and live it up. This is your spring break before the hell breaks loose. And then after that, understand that maybe another week will pass and they'll allow it before they say that there was an outbreak in California. California is a big battleground. They've already lost Texas, and they know that they've already lost Texas. So it's one of the reasons I'm so interested in moving to Texas. But the interesting part is that aren't many people who are willing to say anything because we're distracted with the idea that we're going to have the opportunity to reopen and keep going. But the truth of that is they haven't they haven't become master over enough slaves to endorse that type of behavior, so they're going to make it seem like it's still spreading. Remember, a lot of pharmaceutical companies are making a shit ton of money off of this situation, so though you may be afraid, this is the time that you're going to wake up, because exactly what I said is going to happen. Now, interestingly, one of the big pushes that I have right now is that I'm just letting you guys know that if anything happens to my friend related to this stupid fucking thing, whether they say it or not, that's when the bitch comes out in me. And so that's one of the reasons I really like Anderson Cooper too, is because he's very diplomatic and analytical, and so he's very a really great reporter. I'm kind of more the leader that kind of looks over at the other side, and when things relate to my family, friends, or children, the bitch comes out, and so I'd be a really good mouthpiece in that direction. I'm just saying it's like perfect bookends. Anyway, the moral of the story is, just so you all understand where this is going, they're going to do this, and they're going to play their hand as though it's just the way it is. But understand something, this has been around us for 1.5 years, so there's absolutely no way that a new outbreak would come out unless it was something engineered. So be aware of the situation and look around your scenario, and I'm going to tell you straight up, going down even further past down the road here, you're going to have to make a choice between the people that you surround yourself with. And I had said this before in spiritual terms, but now I'm saying it to you as a collective. If you are against this, then you're probably going to have to let go of anybody who's for it, and you're just going to have to say, muzzle, get the fuck out, bye. Because at the end of the day, they won't take responsibility for any ramifications to happen to your body, and if your life ends, they're going to sit there and say, well, I couldn't have known. Oh, how would I know? See, you see what I'm saying? So this is one of the situations where I'm just going to tell you straight up, as a spiritual leader, you're going to have to make this decision for yourself. Understand that it is a manipulation, that there is going to be a part where they're going to say that it broke out again, especially in California, because that's the 7th largest economy. If they lose California, they're going to lose it all. And so that they know that they have to own this state, which is why so many people are fleeing the fuck out of this place and going to different places. But if you stay here, understand that things are going to get more complicated. You're going to have to deal with the fact that they're going to shut it back down, and you guys are going to get even more frustrated with one another because you can't take it out on the right people. Now, yes, you can. If you guys start banding together and working in teams, in units, and in what they call soul tribes or family tribes, then you can fight the man, because the man is not playing a very smart game. I can clearly see where this is going, and so can David Palmer and so forth, who technically should be the person I should be working with, but I don't know if I would fit in necessarily over at Leo King. But I do know that vibrationally, spiritually, and as a leader, he and I match on every level. So David, if you're watching, because we got to get some shit done here to work together or something, because this is just getting ridiculous. The point to you all is, here's your choices. Your choice is to enjoy this weekend, enjoy the spring break that we're getting, the spiritual spring break, if we will, and enjoy it to wholeheartedly. And if you get the opportunity to work it somehow and make a couple bones, then I would go ahead and do it, and then also enjoy the festivities. See how it's a balance act going on there? And then for those of you who are going out, do it, but just be responsible. Don't drive home. Don't get overly toxified. Don't do stupid shit that's out of the ordinary. Or if you want to do it, just be responsible. Don't drive. Don't hurt someone else because you're in a really great place, right? That's really, really not good for karma. And then for those of you who are observing this, just be aware that those of us on the ground level are very conscious of the fact that we know that this is going to happen. We know that they're going to play this manipulative game where they're going to allow us to open up again, and they're going to shut it all back down again, and then we're going to all be really flustered and pissed off, and all hell breaks loose. Now, we can do that and play that game, or we can rise above it and be diplomatic and be very aggressive about it with each other and just say, okay, what do we do now? Because this is just, we have to do something. The people are going to suffer, and it's going to be all over manipulation. It really is just ridiculously stupid, and it feels like I'm competing in a chess game with a 9-year-old, to be quite frank with you, because it's so obvious what the intentions are here. And I don't want to be a bitch about it, but I'm like, dear God, who created this, some 9-year-old child who doesn't know the truth about life. It's like one of the things that reminds me of the situation where you find somebody who's very, very academically savvy but not very street savvy. You're talking to somebody who is street savvy, has overcome more things than anything else, can see very clearly where this is all going, and I'm looking at them going, you really think that we're that stupid that we don't know? You don't think that there's a reason why you're kind of stalemate right now? Or you're stuck at 40% of the population? Because 60% of us are going, you ain't tested this motherfucker long enough to put it in my goddamn body. But they're going to sit there and going to push really hard. So just be advised that the game is getting really, really nasty. Now, for those of you of faith, let me just be very clear. The divine has yet to show their hand. They haven't. When that happens, that's when the fun begins, if you will. And it's going to be it's going to be a lot of the same people who are all rah-rah for it are going to have to deal with the consequences of their own, ignorance. Now, I'm not castigating it. I'm just telling you all what to expect. Now, you may be against what I'm saying because of the fact that you think that it somehow contradicts medical advice. I'm not. I'm saying that you should get it if it's been tested. If it hasn't been tested and hasn't long enough, then why the fuck are you, rah-rah-rahing it? At the end of the day, the game is getting a little bit nastier, and just understand that when it's all said and done, it will be you who stands alone. No one of your friends, no one in your family is going to sit there and take accountability for the fact that if something goes wrong with it. Only you will. So understand what the truth of what's going on and why they're doing what they're doing. They want us all tagged. At the very end game here that they're trying to get us all to do is to have to carry those tags around, but the thing is you can forgery those. I mean, it's in paper. So they're going to ask you to get the tags that go inside of your body, which is the end game of what they're trying to do. They're trying to tag us like animals. And that's one of the things I just wanted to warn us out. When you guys look at things like this, look long term. Don't look short term. Don't just sit there and assume that it's going to end where they say it's going to end if you understand that there's already been manipulation, coercion, hypocrisy, and all of this other stuff. You are spiritual beings, and you understand logically that that doesn't stand to reason because they still want to control the population. Also, if you're going to run ads that are really stupid, please do me a favor. Don't run me an ad about how there's only 2 different variations because some people are only getting one of these and not the second one. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that's just 2 examples of those that are getting it. The rest of the population still have all of the other ones. Still have the natural inoculation. Some people are immune to this, and I wonder why. Hello? It's a connection to something higher, and it has to do with being in alignment. So, though it seems very confusing, guys, simplify it. At the end of the day, are you willing to take the risk or not? Now, if you're not, understand that they're going to push back really hard. And just be aware of it. Start putting your money away. Start finding menial jobs. I'm sorry, you're going to have to humble yourself, collective. I don't care what it is. If you need to be a dishwasher, then go be a dishwasher. If you need to be some sort of janitor, then do it. Go work at McDonald's. You're going to have to do something because the longer you stay on their teat, the longer you're going to be reliant on them, and the more that they can manipulate you into doing whatever the fuck they want you to do. That's not leadership. That's just enslavement. So when it's all said and done, what I just wanted to get on here and say specifically to you all on the collective is this weekend and probably next weekend is your opportunity to really enjoy life. Really get back to understand what it is that you're fighting for and understand why you're here, and to understand that you still have the option and opportunity to live your life the best way you know how to do it and be responsible for your own body and what happens to it. As I've said before, at the end of all of this, what they're after is Roe v. Wade. It's just another form of Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade controls what you do to your body. When they make enough of the population subject themselves to this without knowing the long-term effects, 2 things are going to play out. Ramifications to those who do this will of course naturally happen. It will mutate because it's synthetic. And then the second part is that they will have the rights. The moral majority, again, will be able to act and defy Roe v. Wade by insisting that all people have to get this because majority rules. That is what they're doing. So I'm just going to be very clear on this. Don't fall for it. Stand very tall and hold your line. There are a lot of things that we don't know yet because we haven't had the time to test it thoroughly. So, just use your logic. What does that mean? What are the possible mutations? Each of these particular strains built by different companies have different ramifications to it. How do I know? Because one of my friends is going through it. I don't know what else to tell you guys other than just say be prepared for war. Be prepared for a spiritual war. Be prepared for the truth of things to come out in ways that you didn't want to know because you were so trusting. Every one of us believes that we are very, very street savvy, but when it's all said and done, why is no one out there fighting against them openly? All of the articles and all of the news, though all of them are geared towards beginning with a pro-rah-rah-rah speech for it, and then kind of talking about the fact that people are starting to fight back. There has to be a network that is out there that wants to work with other brilliant minds who see through the facade and are willing to speak to it for the betterment of the people. When it doesn't matter if the government thinks of us as cattle. It doesn't matter if there's something more advanced above it that thinks of us like animals. The point is we are acting like animals when we betray each other and when we stop being compassionate for other people who don't want their body invaded by something that they haven't had enough information to have put in them. That is rape. That is the definition of rape. So before you guys get all moral majority and before you get on your high horses, understand that you have the furthest to fall. Don't sit there and castigate other people because they are smart enough to realize that they may not be good for their body. If someone's already had this, like me, why the hell would I double down on it and get this freaking injection and get something even more toxic in there? And why are you doing boosters? These are questions you should be asking yourselves, but we're so busy loving the fact that we think that they're going to open the economy, not realizing they're just going to use it to manipulate us, and they're going to shut it back down saying there's an outbreak. And the moment that happens, y'all are going to look at me and go, how did you know? Because I'm playing against a 9-year-old. This is why I want to work with like Anderson Cooper's, because he would sit there and be like, Al, you don't want to say shit like that. But I'm honest. And I have integrity just like he does, but the difference is I'm willing to say it and to take the consequences for it, because I rather deal with a backlash public relations nightmare than have friends of mine die and pass on because they were duped into believing that something that was the all safe bet to solve all things wasn't. Why? Because only God can solve this one. Don't know how else to put it to you guys, but just be advised that this weekend and next weekend is super important. Get out there and enjoy your spring break. Enjoy the last big hurrah that you're going to have for a little bit. And I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I don't like the fact that my friend is now in the ICU and that they won't even acknowledge that it could be related. Really, because just medically something just randomly happened at the same time? What an unbelievable coincidence. Wake up, collective. It's your health. That's it for me on Altruistic Channels. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. We need a leadership out there that deals with these topics in a way that's transparent and that brings everyone's opinion to the table. If only 40% of the population is doing this and they're reaching a plateau, then understand that means that the majority of us do not want it. So why aren't you representing our voices? Because we are the majority. I'm calming down. Center energy. Yeah, baby. Oh, and David Palmer, call me. Let's have lunch. Either way, guys, this is what spiritual warfare can look like. As above, so below. It's your soul in the balance. It's your future. It's up to you to decide what's best for you and your family. But understand, the moment you start testing on your children, you are solely responsible for what happens if something develops down the road, whether it's infertility, whether it's birth defects, whether it is a baby of things that can happen. You as the parent, I think, should be charged. That's my personal opinion. I know I'm not supposed to give it, but I'm just going to be straight up. A parent who puts something toxic into their child like that, who hasn't had enough time to test it, probably shouldn't be a parent. I'm just going to tell you straight up. And the rest of you, if you don't have time to test something thoroughly, then how do you know what the long-term effects are if they haven't had the physical time to do it? It's a simple question. Your lives depend on it. It's up to you guys and what you do now. That's it for me, guys. Bye.